The Brutally Speaking podcast is proudly sponsored by Starving Artist Brewing. Starving Artist Brewing may be a small speck on Michigan's beer map, but they say big things come in small packages. A brewery who really puts their money where their mouth is, supporting underground artists far and wide. Making delicious beers with the simple belief that you should judge beer, not people. Brutally Speaking podcast is proudly sponsored by Rockabilia.com. With over 500,000 officially licensed items in their online store, you're guaranteed to find something you need. Use our code BRUTALLY and get 10% off your total purchase order. Now on to the show.
People say you have to have a lot of passion for what you're doing. This rings true because it's so hard that if you don't, any rational person would give up. It's really hard. And you have to do it over a sustained period of time. So if you don't love it, and if you're not having fun doing it, you're gonna give up.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Brutally Speaking podcast. I am your host, John, and this episode's guest is Chris Fox, vocalist of See You Next Tuesday. The countdown to Distractions is officially upon us this week. We are 4 days away from Distractions coming out on Friday, February 17th through Good Fight Music. I sat down with everyone in the band and basically wanted to just kind of get to know the guys. I've known the band for a long time. I've known members of the band for equally as long. Fox is really the only one that I've known the longest. And honestly, this just seemed like a great opportunity to catch up with Fox, talk about the new record, talk about, the lyrics to the record, what inspired it, because honestly, like I said, I've known all the dudes. I just honestly don't know much about them as people outside of Fox. And even then, it's more of a quality over quantity kind of thing with everyone in the band. And, with Rick, like, I've known Rick for a while. I've been out drinking with him, and, he likes to drink and be loud and laugh and all those kind of things. And Drew is more reserved into himself, and Jimmy, I don't know honestly at all. I've never talked to the guy until I started doing all these chats with everyone. But it seemed like a great opportunity to really kind of give the band individual time for everyone to get to know who they are. And each chat, it's funny, like, the one with Fox so far, I think was the most consistently serious out of all of it. Rick and I just kind of bullshitted about things, and then we kind of got more serious, and Drew was sort of the same, honestly. And honestly, the thing that was really impactful to me about all of these is when we get real and when we get serious, it really showcases what the band is doing on this record. And when you hear the things that inspire this record for everyone and some of the things that they've all gone through in the process of making this, I think you're going to feel those things so much more on this record. I mean, I know I have. I've listened to it about 4 or 5 times today since I gotten it. And it's everything I wanted the record to be coming after intervals, but it's so much more. And it's honestly just a record where I just feel so proud. I feel so proud of the dudes in the band for being able to create this. And I feel like it had to happen now. I talk so much on the show about things happening when they're supposed to, not when you want them to. And this is definitely an instance where I feel like the time between intervals to Distractions and how it all came about couldn't have been any more organic. And to a degree, it sucks that some of the things that happened to the guys needed to happen to make this happen, musically and sonically and everything. But it's one of those things where it's like, man, I'm glad that all of you collectively went through this and then had the shared experience to help each other through these things, because I think the music is ultimately better because of it. And I'm really excited to see what it does for people. There are songs, I'm not going to give too much away because I want you to all go into it with as much anticipation as I did upon getting it. But I will say the last track really hits. A lot of this record really just fucking hits you because it feels so important and it feels like it needed to happen. And I don't often talk about the thing, as I call it, the record, because I feel like it timestamps the chats and everything, and I want them to be more timeless. I want you to be able to listen to these whenever, and these could have happened yesterday or the day before or whenever. And it just is a thing where, upon getting the record and having already done 3 of the 4 conversations with everybody, I'm so glad that I did most of the chats before listening to the record, because I can feel everything that everyone and I have talked about. But all of that said, let's get into my conversation with Fox, and I'll see you all on the other side of it.
Well, it's almost fitting to do this because I feel like every few years you decide that you're gonna do a new band and be active on socials.
Not exactly
and everything.
new this time.
No, but it's interesting because I feel like this out of, like a lot of the things I think musically that you do, it just kind of sort of comes out of nowhere, and I feel like I kind of enjoy it because it feels. And I don't mean to make this sound like anybody who does, press and stuff like that. It's like, well, we know we're on the album cycle of record the record, got to put out all the information about us writing a record to drum up the inspiration, or not the inspiration, but the interest in what we're doing. And then we spend, 3-4 months with a rollout plan, and then we do all the press leading up to it, a tour for a year or two, followed by just rinse, wash, repeat. And it always seems like, the nice thing about you, at least for those that maybe don't know you as well as I do, is that you do not do anything that you do not want to do. So when new See You Next Tuesday stuff was starting to be announced, some shows coming and all that kind of stuff, it was kind of nice because it feels like, being able to take the time away really kind of allowed all of you to want to come back to it and want there to make this be a thing that you want to do. And I can't speak to the full album because I haven't gotten to hear it all, but based on the 2, now literally 3 as of minutes ago when we're recording.
Yeah, exactly.
It seems like, I can at least speak to you and being the lyricist of the band and the vocalist, that it seems like there's been shit that you needed to discuss and get off your chest. And I feel like that's something I've always admired about you as a vocalist, is just that you do things when it needs to come out of you. And I think all of us as fans and those that want to invest the time into the art that you create, I think it really resonates with a lot of us because it needs to come out of us, and it's cathartic for us as well. So I guess kind of let's start there with, kind of where were the beginnings of this new record and the reformation, kind of where did they come from?
Okay. Yeah. God, you're such a good interviewer, John. Yeah. Okay, cool. Where did it come? Well, I mean, we reformed in 2015. So it was only like a few years that we weren't together, but obviously we weren't fucking doing anything. We only played like 5 or 6 shows, maybe, like from then till now, till recently. And it was just kind of like, if somebody offers us a ridiculous amount of money to play, then we'll play it. We kind of just treat it as like a really weird second job. We had fun doing it, but like fucking all of us got big boy jobs, and it's like hard to fucking do anything, especially like how we used to. So it's always been kind of there but not there since then. I get my time frames mixed up. I believe it was right around COVID when lockdown happened, maybe right before. Drew hit me up randomly out of nowhere. I probably hadn't talked to him in like 6 or 7 months prior, because I don't fucking talk to anybody. But But which is another reason why this seems like it came out of nowhere, because I'm so fucking private normally, when I'm not doing a album release cycle. but but he hit me up and he's like, hey, I wrote a song. I was like, okay, never thought that was gonna fucking happen. We'd kind of discussed maybe doing like a split with somebody or something random, nothing like major prior to that, but like it just kind of came out of nowhere with Drew. I was like, cool, let me check it out, and I did. It was cool. I didn't think like I'd have to like jump on the ball of like writing lyrics or anything. I was kind of waiting to see if it was like even going to be a serious thing before I invested time into it.
Right.
And maybe like a month later, he hit me up again. He's like, hey, I got another fucking song. I was like, Jesus Christ, okay, that's fucking cool. It's awesome. And then it was literally like maybe like a week and a half later, he had another song, and I'm like, okay, well, this is fucking happening, So I from there, we just kind of started writing, and the writing process was very long, very grueling. Drew and I spent like a lot of time on it, a lot of back and forth ideas. We ended up finishing the album in June of 2022, so last year. And we've just been kind of working behind the scenes with Good Fight since then to get it out. Tried to keep it a secret as much as possible, but we were all pretty fucking anxious by the time it was supposed to come out to tell people that we were actually fucking doing something. We'd been working on stuff since 2020. but yeah, and that's how it came to be, I guess. Just Drew's the writer guy, so it all comes from Drew, and he finally found something that pushed him to writing, so I guess I had to write as well.
So I want to stay on this, but I feel like I'm going to completely forget this train of thought that I think is actually a good question. So we're gonna go back to writing, like for this record, when we'll get off of this tangent. But I remember taking you to the album release show for Intervals, and playing.
Was it Intervals or Parasite?
It was Intervals.
Yeah, it was Intervals
because you guys were
yeah.
And I remember, that like 2-hour drive to the tour start, or the first stop of the tour. You were playing me the record, we're kind of talking about it. And, I remember kind of having this conversation with you about like the songs that are, I don't want to call them mature or grown up, but like that they're songs that you wrote and kind of broke out of what, I think a lot of people knew you from Parasite. And that I was like, dude, I would love to see where you guys go from here if you continue to write down this avenue. And it now, all these years later, it reminds me sort of the same possible like thoughts of like Refused. Refused put out Shape of Punk to Come and then basically went away for fucking a decade plus between album releases.
Right.
And it kind of makes
compare us to Refused.
Well, the comparison comes here. The comparison comes here where it's like, a lot of people were taken aback initially by Shape of Punk to Come because it wasn't Fan the Flames. And a lot of the things that we now think of Refused are because of Shape of Punk to Come. And I think it allowed the fandom of that band to have time to really sit with the newness of what they were doing and how they were expanding their sound. And I'm wondering if people that maybe weren't on board with Intervals because of some of the new directions you were taking the band and the music, if they have since come around. And secondly, if you feel like there's a pressure or was a pressure to write something that kept expanding your own band sound because of the risks you took all those years ago, it almost maybe gives you permission to go even more further.
I mean, with Intervals, we'll just start off with Intervals. A lot of the songs that were on Parasite were all written years before the album even came out. When they were all, I joined the band right before we recorded Parasite,
Right.
like less than a month before we went into the studio. So all those songs, most of them were already written. I think we only wrote 2 songs in the studio, and they're very apparent which 2 songs they are. So, that's why it was like the drastic change a year later with Intervals, is because we were already, or at least Drew and everybody were already I was already like in a way different mindset than that stuff. But, we already matured a lot as like in our tastes of what we liked musically, since the songs of Parasite were written, so it seemed like a total 180, well, maybe not a 180, but like veering off in a really weird direction from Parasite was like a drastic change in like a year or however long those albums were released apart. But it was just because those Parasite songs were written way before the album was even recorded. But yeah, I mean, we did mature a lot with Intervals, and it wasn't as well received because people were already used to like weird, wacky us, as far as musically. We're always weird and wacky, like as people, but but yeah, it didn't get received as well. But at the time we were listening to stuff like,
oh, did we freeze? I think we froze.
Oh, we still going? Okay.
Yep. There you go.
I don't know when it got cut off.
Right when you were just like, we were starting to be influenced by, and then it froze on you.
Oh, okay. Like Graf Orlock, Rotten Sound, Cursed, Regurgitate, like stuff like that, which was way more mature stuff than what we were listening to prior. So that definitely helped push Intervals in a way different direction than, the other stuff. But yeah, I mean, we not only that, we were older, so we wanted to write more serious stuff too. And then fast forward to now, I just don't think we didn't have any of that shit in mind, really. I mean, we definitely wanted to kind of pick up where Intervals left off, but it wasn't like a huge like thing. We were just like writing what we liked, and what we liked hearing. We weren't trying to go like any certain direction or anything, just whatever sounded pleasing to us. And it's definitely influenced by a lot of the stuff we listen to now. Fucking 15 years later, like my musical tastes have totally changed. I barely listen to like heavy stuff at all anymore. And that's very apparent in a lot of the lyrics I wrote. I feel like, and then Drew and I both listen to a lot of electronic music now, especially like darker, heavier electronic music. And I think we kind of started integrating that in quite a bit to See You Next Tuesday stuff. And I think we're going to continue to do that as well, even further. I don't know how well that's going to be received, but honestly, we don't really give a fuck either. So we're just writing stuff we want to hear, really, and what is fun for us to play, or maybe not fun. It's super hard to play, but it's just whatever's enjoyable for us, pretty much. I don't know.
I think the thing
how close I got to an answer for that question or not.
No, I think you did get close to an answer, and I think the interesting thing about it, because when I think, the interesting thing sometimes about doing this show, and I know, because now I make a comment about how like no one ever fucking comments about anything or tells me what they think about the show, love it, hate it, whatever. Mm-hmm. And now I think because I've said it enough, and I was talking about like fatigue of doing a show where it's like you do something and you put on all this time and the sacrifices you make, like I'm married and I work jobs, couple in some instances. And it's like, it's hard to keep investing so much of yourself and putting so much of yourself into this thing and getting pretty much nothing in return, right, or at times maybe getting like troll ass comments where you're just like, well, fuck yourself too then. Like, I don't, like, who cares? But it is one of the
shit out there.
Sure. But I think the thing that's been interesting as of late is when I do some of these with people that I know a lot more personally, like outside of just doing this, that, you know, a lot of people comment on, it's nice to hear, like, I don't ever hear that person talk like this because they don't usually know the people that they're doing press junkets with and so forth as well. But I also think, you know, we're around the same age and, you know, I know a little bit more about some of the things you've gone through as a person. And so to me, when I think about, you know, see you next Tuesday and what does it mean to me now being almost 40, and, you know, same thing. I don't really listen to super aggressive music anymore. And if I do, I'm looking for something different out of it than I was back then. I think I'm looking for more of an internal connection to lyrics and kind of finding something. Before it was just let me throw my body about and just it's a cathartic release physically for me. Now I'm looking at a lot of this music and I'm like, what is it doing for me? Maybe mentally or emotionally that, you know, maybe I'm not able to tap into these things. And so when I kind of think about that from a music listener, I can't help but think that maybe with something that's been gone from your life for a while in a different avenue for you to express yourself, that maybe you and the rest of the guys, it's almost like because you give no fucks about what anyone else thinks and this isn't your full-time thing, that you're willing to take more artistic chances and put yourself out there way more because you don't give a fuck. And it really is what it does for me. And what I'm looking for out of it is I want there to be this release for me because I need to have it be that for me. And I feel like maybe going into this record for you guys writing and speaking more to you personally, I feel like maybe the things that have happened in the, you know, 10 plus years or 15 years since the last record, you're able to go, fuck it, I'm putting all this out there because this may be the last time I get to do something like this and get to say these things that I've been holding internally and I need to let it go.
Yeah. I mean, back then I think I might have been a little bit like worried to write about certain aspects of stuff I think about. Now I just don't give a fuck because it doesn't matter. Like, who cares? You know, like, I think fucking maybe like 3% of the people who actually listen to us probably even read the lyrics, so I don't care about that. And if they do read it, usually I get pretty good feedback, thankfully, which is flattering. But yeah, I mean, I don't give a fuck anymore. You know, it kind of started with you know, all about Bore that I was doing. I really started like diving deep, like lyrically, into like weird shit I always think about. And then it just kind of transitioned, not exactly the same subject matter, but it like me just like diving more into like mentally what's fucking me up. It definitely transitioned into, you know, distractions for sure. And like me not caring what anybody might have taken away from it, you know, definitely it came with my age, not caring what people think about me.
Yeah.
But, you know, I don't really know where I'm going with this. Yeah, I just don't none of us gave a fuck. That's the thing. You know, this was more for us. We didn't, you know, putting this out, we've received like an amazing response so far, and it's already grown into something way bigger than what we imagined it would be coming out. I mean, we hope for the best, you know, but like, you know, at least speaking for myself, I just kind of thought, you know, hey, these guys got a new record. They used to be a band back then. And then, you know, be buzzed for like a week and then nobody would give a shit. But it's like been continuously like a thing and grown into like way bigger of a monster than I imagined it would be so far. So, you know, I'm grateful for that, but we didn't think it was just for really just for Drew and I to kind of literally be a distraction from shit that was fucking with us. You know, more so Drew than me, but you know, is like that's how that album came about, to take focus off shitty stuff in life and go in a different direction. So,
You know,
yeah,
it's always been kind of interesting to me, you know, like yourself, you know, I would say like a mutual person we know in Alfonso, and a handful of other people I know that are vocalists in, I don't want to say extreme music, but something where there's more yelling, screaming, and so forth. I find it amusing that like you guys are so soft spoken, and I can't speak to Alfonso because he literally posts all of his thoughts online, and I get it. Like you gotta,
he very
that's
much does.
that's sometimes, you know, it's a
I'm
good.
the
I
complete
do think
opposite.
I'm somewhere in between where I am really getting away from it, from just using it as a sounding board, because then it's like, if you know, inevitably, like I do see sometimes when I see Alfonso post when I'm on Facebook every so often, I will see how a general thirst for putting ideas out there and thinking out loud turns into debates and arguments, and that's not that wasn't, you can tell that that's not the intention.
Mhm.
But the other thing is, more so speaking to you personally, I feel like what's interesting is you are someone that you only put out there what you want people to know. And in the day and age where we know so much about everybody, I always think it's interesting to me that when you do put out music, when you like, you know, the last single you put out, I was really kind of taken aback by the lyrics in it, because it's like, it's I shouldn't have been based on what you've written
song.
before. Yeah, but I mean, it's showcasing a side of you from a writing perspective I hadn't really seen before. And I think, to me, I wonder if there's ever sort of a, and I'm kind of like, probably you can literally see it on my face, I'm trying to work on how to get to what I'm trying to ask, because, you know, that's sort of the downfall of this, is I'm thinking in real time. You can see it as I'm coming up with these ideas. But it's interesting to me because for someone that's so, I don't want to say guarded with your emotions and your thoughts and ideas, is it scary, I guess, to kind of put yourself out there in some of these ways at all? I mean, I know we just literally talked for a couple minutes about, you know, I don't give a fuck, but I feel like to a degree and I'll speak more from my perspective of having gone to therapy in the last couple of years, of, you know, having to deal with my own shit and kind of talking through things and kind of vocalizing thoughts I have that I think are fucked up, or things that I think about, and realize that, you know, if I were to say these things to people are probably going to stare at me and be like, dude, what? And it's hard to put yourself out there like that. And I feel like at times when you do, I feel like it's almost like this form of therapy for yourself, where you're kind of exercising these things, and it's just not who I know you to be. So I always think it's interesting, this duality of you as the artist and you as a person who puts yourself out there, but also really doesn't at the same time.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't.
I know there's not really a question in there.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a way to respond to it. So with the last single, "Why Can't You Behave," it's definitely a different approach to writing lyrics for me, and I kind of just stumbled on it, honestly. That song was actually a poem I wrote a long fucking time ago. And I was just kind of like, I was having a hard time writing for this album at the beginning, because I hadn't really done it in a few years, and I didn't really, I had some stuff on my mind, but I didn't know how to like formulate it into a song. So I was just looking for ideas, and I came across that poem. I was like, man, this would be fucking sick. Like the pure contrast between the almost like romantic aspect of it against like the chaotic music, and it started getting me thinking about like one of my favorite bands ever, minus the Bear, and like how those lyrics make me feel, and it make me like take me to like kind of almost like a romantic movie-esque like feeling, like kind of put me in that mind frame. I was wondering if I could possibly do that as well with us. So that's very much derived from stuff like Minus the Bear. But I just kind of like, we did that song and I really fucking loved the contrast. And I kind of, as when you actually hear the rest of the album, that's not the only song like that. I really enjoyed how it turned out. So I did it a couple more times on different kind of like romantic type subjects that I was just kind of making up in my head as I went. But you know, I just wanted to, I don't know, do something different. I haven't seen like or heard a metal band really do anything like that before, except
Oh no. Got the lag again.
Today's Beer Minute is brought to you by Starving Artist Brewery, who share a simple belief you should judge beer and not people. Today's beer is from 450 North Brewing out of Columbus, Indiana, and it's their Shark Bite Smoothie Sour Ale. Coming in at just over 5%, this sour ale really hits the spot for my inner sweet tooth, with the blue raspberry and blueberry tartness really setting up the tone for this super sweet beer. Personally, I feel like this is the perfect beer to get people into sours without them being quote-unquote too sour. Thanks to Starving Artist Brewing, who remind you to support your starving artists, and please, always drink responsibly. And now, back to the show.
And
we're
back. Yep.
Anyway,
You were saying you hadn't seen a band do that since, or you hadn't really seen a band do that.
Except for maybe like Glassjaw or something, or like, I bet Every Time I Die has something like that. I don't know.
Only in recent years.
Right, yeah. But yeah, it was just a fun take. And, you know, I don't really care about like whoever sees that side of me either, you know, like it's not like a huge deal to me.
I just think a lot of times for me, like now, especially as this just turns into the old man bitching podcast, I guess. It just becomes as I get older, like, you know, I was talking with someone that listens to the show, and, you know, I had Tom from Exadata Remember on that we posted a couple of days ago, or like 2 weeks ago, as of when we're doing this. And he was like, you know, it's crazy to hear, like, you know, you're talking about like losing friends and getting older and like taking the time to say things that you think you should, but like for whatever reason you instinctively either don't or just forget to or whatever, because that's just life and that's how fast life moves now. And it becomes sort of this thing where, you know, I've been thinking a lot about, you know, we're in the beginning of a new year, so you think about a lot of things you want to change and improve on, and, you know, the new year, new me bullshit always applies. And I think because of going to therapy, because of the 2 years that we all collectively spent, you know, having to have a very shared experience, which I can't really think of any time, at least in my lifetime, where we've all collectively worldwide gone through the same thing and essentially just lost time and lost the ability to be with people and to connect with people, that it's really allowed for more internal growth and kind of wanting to reconnect with people and kind of putting aside differences and bullshit because of things like the internet, where it's like, oh, well, I don't agree with you on this. And it's like, you know, there was times before the internet where I didn't know how people felt politically or religiously,
Right.
really, or whatever. And we found ways to find mutual ground and be friends over things that we shared in common. And it was fine. And we existed just fine. And there's just so much divisiveness now. And so when I think about a lot of things and putting out yourself, I feel like it just becomes this thing where that's more of who I want to be and more of who I'm gravitated toward, because isn't that the most freeing way to be in this world now? Instead of having to fit into all these little fucking boxes of what you're supposed to do, who you people think you are for whatever reason, just be you and just be happy with it.
Yeah.
And I feel like
I think I definitely gravitated more towards that over the past few years as well. Like I took a really hard look at who I was, and I have like really bad like not only control issues but anger issues as well because I'm so stressed out all the time. And it's like really I've really had to like take a step back and tell myself to fucking chill out. And I don't think I could have done that without a lot of like self-reflection time that I've given myself and that I've had to take, you know, because of everything that's happened in the world. And that's definitely, you know, it's made me just be comfortable with not only not giving a fuck what people think about me, but like obviously distancing myself from all that shit on the internet, you know, like I think the most active I am besides this band stuff, like people actually seeing my face now. But like, you know, I'm really only active on my tattoo Instagram, and that's because I have to be because it's my job, you know, and I have to constantly put stuff out for people to see. If it wasn't for that, I probably wouldn't even exist online. Like I fucking hate the internet. But yeah, it definitely the past couple of years have, you know, exactly what you said, made me personally like take some steps back and like look at myself as a person and how I interact with people. And I feel like it's changed me for the best for the most part.
Weird, maybe it's on the same topic, but a side tangent. Is that sort of what made you fall in love with like hiking and kind of doing these like day camps and stuff like that, like camping out?
Yeah. Actually, that all started during COVID, like the lockdown. I started getting like really into photography for a hot second, and that like nature, like landscapes and stuff. And then that kind of just evolved into me not even giving a fuck about taking pictures and hiking and not being around anybody. And I mean, except for like friends that I'd go with, but like really just getting away from society. Unfortunately, I've had to give that up because of the fucking band because I don't have time for it now. Maybe one day I can get back to it, but yeah.
God damn it. Froze again. We'll wait for Fox to reappear. I wonder if it does the same thing to the other side. There we go.
There we go. Yeah. But yeah, that definitely did like that. Taking a step back did contribute to me staying out in the woods all the time, or whenever I could, at least.
It just because I remember like one of the hikes that we went on. Oh, I'm gonna wait because this is the fun and joys of doing things over the internet, kids.
Is this my internet that's fucking this up?
I don't know. I'm like I said, I'm in the basement, but I'm literally right below my router, so I should be short of being right next to it upstairs.
If I scroll away from this, will it fuck it up?
No.
Okay.
I mean,
check my.
You may not be there, but it's whatever.
Just making sure my internet's connected to the right one.
Yeah,
it is.
One.
Yeah.
No, I mean, let's be real. I mean, for those that see this and are like, oh, well, the internet. And I'm like, well, fuck you, dude. Like, we're not sitting in person, and this is the reality of life. Like, it doesn't always work the way you want it to, when you want it to, but you fucking adapt and move on. And this is free, so fuck you. That's always the thing that kills me is people are like, oh, well, I mean, this could have been better. And you're like, well, it's shit. It's free. It costs you nothing. So other than your time,
happens,
yeah. But no, I think like you and I went on like a random hike and a while, like in the middle of that. And it was fun because it's like something I enjoyed doing, but I also like, as someone who runs warm all the time, the last thing I typically ever want to do is be somewhere where it's hot and just be hot and not be able to like get the reprieve.
Physical activity.
Well, physical activity doesn't really bother me, but it's more of just like, again, like I think in light of like, at least I had this during the pandemic, so I still had a way to connect with people and get that interaction that a lot of people missed out on, because unfortunately, with everyone being so heavily invested in things on the internet and being social through a device, they lost when they kind of lost that, you lost the ability to go hang out with people. And I think it really made people reconnect, or at least hopefully reconnect with real friends and doing real things together and sharing real experiences. And I know, like I said, I'm not big on camping because I'm old. I don't want to lay on the ground because it hurts my body. And so I have to do.
I'm old too.
Like I made a bit of a sacrifice. I don't want to say a sacrifice. That's not the right word. I made a bit of a meeting in the middle, like with my wife, because she enjoys camping around this, starting to do that, like when you were getting into it. And so it's like, I stayed with someone. They had like a little blow up mattress that's just big enough for you as a person. And then I was like, I'm going to do that. Like, if I can do that, I can do camping. But I just can't do the, like,
that's
here's
what
like
I
a
use.
little.
I use a little pad. Yeah, like a little blow up.
Oh, no, I'm talking about a full on, like, air mattress. Like,
I use like a pad that's like.
No, this this is at least like
mine's
this.
like only like 2 inches.
No.
But
So it became this thing where it's like doing things like that. It's been fun and getting to go out and kind of, I guess, quote unquote, roughing it. But like, it's sort of, I guess, for lack of a better term, it's just kind of reconnecting you with where we all came from. Like, just there's nothing. And sort of, and I know that sounds bleak as fuck to be like, we're returning back to the where we all came from, which is nothing. And the absence of everything is where you almost find yourself. But I feel like maybe that's the thing, is I feel like maybe so many people need so many fucking distractions from their day to day because they're just not willing to deal with who they are or what makes them unhappy and figuring that out to become happy.
that's definitely a lot of what I was doing when I was out there just walking for 12 hours a day, you know, like fucking just had my headphones in maybe and walking and thinking about past, present, and future, you know, and me involved in all three of those. And it definitely helps a lot, for sure. Get my mental state back together.
Without necessarily delving more than into this more than you maybe would want to, can you kind of maybe expound upon that? Like, because I find that concept of past, present, and future interesting, and a lot of times I fixate on it when I'm taking shrooms. Like, I recently did that going up to Traverse City and being at a really nice 70s theme, like mansion B&B type thing with essentially 20 other people, and I only knew about 5. So it was really out of my comfort zone of just being around housewives that I have no commonalities with that I'd never met before. And then I decided just to be like, fuck it, I'm gonna take shrooms and see what a little bit more of myself I can learn about, and kind of shedding of fears and insecurities and all that kind of stuff, and just kind of getting to the core of maybe some issues and using some therapy tools and so forth and moving forward. But I love the concept of that. I guess it's almost like progression. Like, if you're able to be honest with yourself and look backwards, think about where you are currently and things you want to do in the future, I think it really informs and unlocks a lot about yourself. And it's just being honest. And I feel like you talking about that, that was the first thing I wanted to know, was what was your experience in that of, you know, figuring out things?
Yeah, I think what really turned stuff around for me is I started to think about, like, you know, what was bugging me, what was really like pressing in the present that was really fucking with me. And then, you know, after like just thinking about it over and over, I was like, okay, what caused me to be like this to where this is bugging me? So it was kind of like looking back and like really digging deep into what memories I can actually recall that would have, you know, caused me trauma to act the way I was acting. And then from there, it was trying to fix the problem, and, you know, heal from whatever may have, you know, and this is like a multitude of different things that I ended up going back and like really trying to think about, you know, why I was acting the way I was acting. And, you know, or thinking, or, you know, what was causing what, pretty much. And it was like things that were like actually causing problems in my life, identifying those original things, you know. So I was pretty much just giving myself therapy by like just being by myself, which I'm really good at. Like like COVID wasn't like that big of a, I mean, COVID was a huge deal, but like for me to just like sit in my apartment at the time was like, okay, cool, you know, whatever, I'll just paint. But you know, really taking that time to like mentally assess what issues I had going on in my life helped out a lot. And the, you know, from really assessing what caused the trauma to make me act the way I was acting, I was able to not correct or heal fully, but at least be aware of what triggers certain things for myself, and learn how to avoid said things.
Have you noticed since being able to do that, that you, I don't know if the term happiness,
I feel like
being happy is,
I'm still like an incredibly busy, stressed out person. That
I don't know you to be any other way.
way too much on. I always have like fucking, you know, 10 plates worth of shit on my plate, you know, like, and it sucks. Like today's fuck, I'm probably not going to sleep for the next 3 days, just to get shit done. But, besides that, like I've definitely turned into like a more relaxed when I'm, you know, I actually able to person.
God damn it. Boom.
And we're back.
And we're back.
The short answer, yeah, I feel it helped me a lot. I feel not necessarily happier, but I'm more comfortable with myself, and that I feel like that's always a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting what, and I feel like I need to come up with a new word because I say that word all the fucking time and then I fixate on it. When kind of thinking about, like, you know, something I've heard you say a couple times during this chat alone, you know, is talking about feeling like, you know, you have to do all these things. You got a lot of things you're trying to do. And I mean, I kind of talked about it a little bit ago, where it's like, sometimes I feel like I do the same thing where it's like, I want this to be successful, and I want it to be a thing where I get something out of it. And I know for me, I always do, so much to the point where, like, when the industry shuts down at the end of the year and I have like a month and a half off basically of not doing these, it's like, I miss it because it's just something I need in my life. And, but I think the other thing is too, is it's like, okay, you know, I have essentially a full-time job, then I'm married. And then it's like, you're trying to balance all of these pieces of you and the things that you get out of them to be fulfilled as a person. And in the loosest of terms for myself doing this, I'll say even as a creative, quote unquote, but it becomes this thing where I feel like at times I struggle with how to compartmentalize my life to where it's like, okay, here, I'm going to give this much of myself to this thing. Okay, I need to nourish and make sure that my marriage is doing well. I also need to be social, and I need to work to pay bills and shit. And at times it feels overwhelming because you kind of feel like you can't be all of these things and give all of yourself where needed to satiate everything. But then it's like, when you start looking at it and going, okay, what can I take a little bit less of myself into and pump into this other thing that maybe needs me more, that it feels like you're like, it's almost like a Sophie's Choice. You're like, how the fuck do I choose when all of these things are who I am and what make me happy? And I feel like that's something that, like, I wrestle with still. And I feel like, you know, that was going to be something I was going to ask, is like, you know,
really hard
you
time
added,
you know, I got so many.
I was going to say, yeah, because you now own the tattoo shop that you were working at. So it's like, that adds a whole nother layer of shit to you that you have to be responsible for. And we lagged, of course, as I say that.
And we're back. All right. Yeah. I have so many things that I put out there at least creativity wise, that it's, and I try and like put like 100% of myself into all of it, but lately it's been just non-existent. Like the band is definitely, you know, I don't want to sound like a piece of shit when I say this, but it's definitely hurt all the other aspects of my life because it's grown into the like it's taking up a lot of my fucking time. And I'm very grateful for, you know, the overwhelmingly positive response that we've gotten so far. But definitely like my career, my actual artistic, like I think were you following when I was putting those paintings out for a while? The landscapes.
Well, I'd wondered if that was inspired by like the camping and doing all that stuff. So
It was more inspired by the photography aspect and other landscape art that I was into. I mean, hiking definitely helped, but you know, I fucking spent 2.5 years making over 50 paintings, and I was gonna put a book out and you know, have like an art show, and I had all the paintings professionally photographed over a year ago to put this book out, and you know, I just don't have time to do it. It sucks. I want to do it so bad. I feel like I've missed my window because nobody is interested in it anymore. You know, stuff like that. You know, I don't have time to paint for work anymore. Or like, you know, the only thing I do for work now is like occasionally draw like a back piece or something. And for those who are watching,
of course. God damn it. And we're back.
Anyway, back to where for those who are watching this and haven't figured it out by now, what I do for a living, I'm a tattooer. So occasionally I like work on a big piece and draw that, and that's about my only creative outlet as far as art, unfortunately, at the moment, besides shit for the band. But yeah, so like it's been rough lately trying to, I'm really bad at like managing what part of me goes into what, because I'm just like, yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, I'll do that. And it's just, today is one of those days where I have, you know, 7 projects that are all due tomorrow. And it's like, fuck.
I know.
I don't know where
kind of as we very good. I was to say as we kind of slowly start kind of wrapping this up, because I know you got shit to do and so do I, as we're literally talking about it. But it's, you know, on a personal level, and I know, like I said this to are you froze again?
All right. I'm back.
Anyway, as I was sort of saying, you know, what's interesting, you know, the text you had sent yesterday, and it's funny because I had a very similar experience with Bentley when he had to text me about, you know, his rates changing and all that kind of stuff. And I remember sending him a text, and you know, I knew I was going to talk to you, so I'm just going to say this to you. But to finish the Bentley story, you know, he was like, I know this is a fucking bummer. I'm really sorry. I just can't afford to like tattoo you at the old rates from like when we first started hanging. Like, I don't even do my friend like family at that rate. I'm sorry, and I understand if like you can't get tattooed now. And I was like, it's fine. It's not a big deal. But like I ended up telling him, I was like, you know, I feel really proud of you as an individual. And I think it speaks to our relationship that you feel comfortable enough to say something that I know even probably 2 or 3 years ago would have been so fucking hard for you to even vocalize, because you're such a people pleaser and you don't want to bum anyone out.
Right.
Equally, equally when you were like, when I had like my whole fucking 2 days off that I had planned to knock out all the interviews with all of you guys in this one day, basically, and the one tomorrow, and then everything got fucking flipped on its head for me. And you were like, yeah, man, like, I don't want to be a dick, but like, I can't fucking arrange all this shit for you again.
Yeah.
Like, I have shit I gotta do.
I didn't
and
mean
like,
that
I was like, no,
like
no,
I
not
was
at all.
And I was like, this sounds like I'm an asshole. It was literally like, hey man, I'm sorry, but I literally do not have the time to.
Yeah. God damn it. Fuck this internet shit. And
And we're back.
And we're back.
So yeah, I just literally, it's with tone on text, it's such a like a feeble thing, like, so I just really wanted you to make sure you didn't think I was just being a fucking dickhead. I just did not have time to go through it again because I.
Right. Fuck this internet shit.
I'm back.
But it was, if there was a name, I'm going to write that in parentheses as a name, like Chris Fox, and I'm back.
I'm back.
But no, it was just this thing for me where I felt like there was a lot of growth in you, because I feel like before you probably would have just internalized that. And it either would have manifested itself in you internally in something else that had nothing to do with it, or more to the point, maybe you would have snapped out at somebody else. And I'm not saying it would have been me, but like just a collection of things like that, where you just feel overwhelmed that you would have snapped at the wrong person and then felt really bad about it after the fact. And so to me, it's like the fact that you were able to, in real time, just be like, hey, dude, I can't fucking do this. Like, it was a lot to even do it in capacity I did. So if you want to do this and make this work like that, it's got to be on you. And it was just like, that's fine. But like, to me, I was like, God damn, like, proud of you that there would have been a point in our relationship where you wouldn't have done that. And to me, like, I think that shows a lot of growth as you. Yep, 100%.
Yeah, I really hope you didn't take that the wrong way, though, because I didn't mean it in the, hey, I don't want to fucking time. It was like, I'm sorry, dude, I can't do it. Yeah.
Yep. And then I got it done in like an hour and a half later.
Drew
like, got it all taken care of.
Was like, yeah, I sorted it out. I was like, oh, cool.
Yeah. Yep. But it was just one of those things, like, to me, like, I love seeing things like that. Like, it may seem so insequential to like a bigger thing, but to me, I love seeing people that I've known for a while and seeing them being able to grow and progress as themselves, and just kind of being able to live their full selves. So I really appreciated that. And I just, as a little thing, I just proud of you for that, and just proud of you for a lot of what you've done. Like, I mean, again, being in a really weird thing, I think we should give people their flowers, as the kids say, like, in real time. But like, seeing photos of you recently and all that kind of stuff, it's like I was going to say, like, man, you look good. Like, you look like you're trimmed down, lost some weight and stuff like that. And it just, it seems like outwardly and all that, like, there's just a lot of positivity that's emanating from a lot of what you're doing. And I feel like just want to say it's not going unnoticed to those that know you a bit more. So to me, I'm very excited to hear the new record and kind of delve into a lot of the lyrics. And it seems like, like I was sort of alluding to earlier, like, you taking on the responsibility of now being a boss and owning a tattoo shop and stuff like that. Like, I don't know what that is actually like, but being the boss of people and having to deal with all that, it's a very thankless job. And so, I mean, I haven't really talked to you since even that. So it's great to see all the good things happening in your life. And maybe you don't, because you're just so laser focused on work all the time, you're maybe not able to take that step back and just realize, like, all the awesome shit that you're doing
really
going on.
I don't have time to think about it. But thanks.
But honestly,
it really
like,
does mean a lot. I appreciate it.
But it's something that, like, I notice, and I'm sure a lot of your other friends notice, and maybe just don't actually say to you, but giving you your flowers in real time.
Thank you.
To kind of last two questions I have for you. One selfishly is a cheap plug for the podcast sponsor, but is a fun one maybe for you. So one of my sponsors is Rockabilia. They have all kinds of merch stuff relating to bands. And so I've been asking people that are coming on the show, what's your favorite piece of merch that you either have or had?
Oh boy. I kind of went on this looking for vintage shirts kick for a hot second, and I
oh boy, that's great. That's so great. Let me get it. Oh, I don't think I got it. And we're back.
Guess what? I'm back. So yeah, I went on this vintage shirt kick, and one shirt I always wanted as a kid was a a Pretty Hate Machine shirt, a 9 Inch Nail shirt, and I fucking finally just fucking went for it and found a vintage Pretty Hate Machine shirt from when the album came out, and I bought it, and it fits real weird, but I love it. It's my favorite shirt for sure.
It's awesome. I feel like I've been saying a lot is that's the joy I find in getting older is just rebuying my youth and being stoked on having things either I had and don't anymore,
I have so
or
much like kid shit. Like just stupid comic book stuff, and my like whenever I do have free time, it is Rick and I playing Magic the Gathering. Like that is all we fucking do with our spare time. So I was thinking about that last night, actually. I was like, I'm almost 40, and I spend whatever free time I have playing Magic the fucking Gathering. Like, what the fuck?
Hey, I think it's good because it allows you to do something that you have fun with and an escape from all the
it is an
and
escape.
bullshit of everything.
That's what hiking was too. It was like, okay, walk away from responsibilities for a minute, and that's what Magic is too right now. So,
and it's a way for you to bond with a longtime friend of yours, and also just kind of, be social.
Right.
And then last question for you: what would you like to plug? Anything online or anything?
Well, we have an album coming out. I don't know. Fucking, I don't really have a lot to plug besides the album. I'm just like a dude who goes to work every day. And does tattoos, and I'm already heavily overbooked. So, if somebody wants to get tattooed by me, all they got to do is email me. But I probably can't get you in for a while, unfortunately.
Come in on Wednesdays and get a small jammer.
Yeah, I really want to move to a point where I'm not doing giant tattoos anymore, and I'm just going to work and taking walk-ins every day. Like, I would fucking love that. It'd be so awesome. I love doing like giant tattoos, but there's such like a commitment that like I'd rather just like yeah, right. I'd rather just go to work and bang out some cool tattoo, even if it's just like a
Hi, we're back.
Yeah. Back. Even if it's just a piece of flash or whatever, that would, or something out of my line drawing book. That's what I would love to do, but I don't think that's going to happen for me anytime soon. Which is a blessing and a curse, I guess. I don't fucking know. Yeah, I guess people can check out my tattoo Instagram, which is foxtattoos. Can check out the old, I was in 2 bands the time we were taken out. I was actually in 3 bands, but only 2 of them have stuff online. I was in a band called Dead Church. And I'm sure that stuff's on like Bandcamp or something. That was with Maxwell from Sender Receiver. He actually owns the Sanctuary in Detroit. And then I did a project with my friends from another band called Burning Cities called Bohr, Bohr. And that was some of my favorite music I've ever been a part of, for sure. Trying to think. Oh, there might be another reunion of sorts, if you know what I'm talking about.
The old Faber machine, Fabergé egg.
It's kind of getting discussed. So,
well, that's what we do when we get old. We discuss.
For those who know, yeah. There might be another something happening with me in it sometime. I don't, but it's up in the air.
Fair enough.
But yeah, the new album, Distractions, February 17th, I think. Yeah.
Well,
that's the biggest thing coming up.
It was fun chatting. Thanks for taking the time out of your day to do this, and hopefully be seeing you around somewhere here in the States, so I can go see a show and not be a slave to the grind of working when you're working.
Yeah,
playing shows.
Totally. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, enjoy the rest of your day.
Later, bro.
Why won't you do what I want you to do? There we go.
Today's Beer Minute is brought to you by Starving Artist Brewery, who share a simple belief you should judge beer and not people. Today's beer is a collaboration from Angry Chair Brewing and Untitled Art out of Waunakee, Wisconsin, and it's their caramel coconut cookie pastry stout. Coming in at just over 11.5%, this stout tastes like drinking a Samoa Girl Scout cookie. This was such an easy drinking beer, despite it being almost 12%. Super smooth, super rich and sweet, what's not to love? Thanks to Starving Artist Brewing, who remind you to support your starving artists, and please, always drink responsibly. And now, back to the show. And we're back. Little joke for those that will end up seeing this on the YouTube version with the video. I didn't cut out like any of the internet issues we were having, so you will see in all of its glory the "and we're back" jokes that kept permeating throughout the episode. If you're just listening to the audio version of this, well, if you feel like going through that, that's basically how Fox and I would reintroduce the when the internet would stop lagging and we would both be back live with each other. And we're back. That was a fun chat. I really want to thank Chris for taking the time to come and talk and to be so honest about, some of the things that he's been going through, during the pandemic, and just kind of being more of someone who is more of a loner, for lack of a better term. But, I would definitely say that I think I don't know. That's kind of how I've always known Fox to be. I've always kind of known him he's always around people. He always has friends and stuff like that. But I also feel like he is someone that genuinely just enjoys his time. And it's something that as I've gotten older, I kind of really appreciate those that know that they need that time for themselves, because I feel like it's ultimately what ends up allowing them to find fulfillment in other things in their life, because they know that that's what they are passionate about. It's something that they want to do. And to even see, Fox in his professional life of, starting off as a tattooer and kind of moving around and finding his scene kind of, he moved around here in Michigan and all that kind of stuff. But, now he has settled back into Lansing. He owns, Fish Ladder, and to see what he's done where he has really taken his career, as someone who has one of his first couple of tattoos, it is kind of incredible to kind of see where he has gone in his, career, and to see, that he is able to provide people with these keepsakes of things that, bring them happiness and to add to their story or to do whatever. And I really do think that tattooing is this just really interesting form of artwork, for lack of a better term, because you're taking a skill that you have, something that you are constantly learning and evolving what you do and your interests, and you're giving someone a permanent keepsake, but you're also, commemorating something for them, a lost one or a special occasion, or even if it's like someone like myself who just collects weird shit when I go and travel, like a memory of a place I was or a stamp in time. These are things that to me I think are very important and are just, it's not really like anything else that I can think of from a profession standpoint. And then add into the fact that, Fox obviously is a vocalist of a band that, while we often joke about how people probably don't read his lyrics, don't really know what he's saying, I think for those of us who really do take the time to take it all in, it showcases another side of a person, and why, I love talking to him and love talking about his lyrics and love talking about the inspiration behind these things, because I feel like there's this sense of vulnerability that I wish more people would be that honest about things with others. And, I try to do that on the show. I honestly try to give this and make this a platform where we can share in human experiences and kind of make it, I don't want to say okay, but make it less awkward, less nerve-wracking to vocalize some of our thoughts. It's something I don't take lightly, and all three of these guys so far. And I'm talking to Jimmy tonight as of when I'm recording this, and I have a feeling he and I will probably stumble across some similar serious talking points where it'll be one of those things where I'm just really thankful that these guys decided to go on a limb with me and to have these conversations and to not know where they're going to go and just be willing to answer the questions and kind of get serious and also jokey and playful. I think those are all sides basically of the band. And honestly, it really does come across in this new record. Like, gone are the jokey song titles, references to pop culture things and so forth. And this just feels like a more adult See You Next Tuesday. Granted, the way the record starts off maybe isn't quite the indication of that, but it is still a thing where I think there is a lot of growth and maturity that has happened in the 15 years or so since the last record. And that was saying a lot for the band even back then, to pull off something that is so like leaps and bounds, just inspiring from where they've started off. I don't know. I'm just very excited for everyone to finally hear this new record and to hear these other chats. So let's start wrapping up this episode. If you would like to keep up with See You Next Tuesday, well, you can follow them at See You Next Tuesday Grind on Facebook, See You Next Tuesday Grind on Instagram. They have an old Twitter account under SYNT, but it has not been updated since like 2008. So I'm just going to go ahead and say that they do not use Twitter. Website, you can go over to seeyouNextTuesday.ffm.2to/distractions, and that basically will take you to a link tree to where you can pre-order, pre-save, whatever you would like to do to get you this copy of their new record, Distractions, which again comes out this Friday. Very much looking forward to having everyone check it out. If you would like to keep up with Fox, you can just find him on Instagram at foxtattoos. Yeah, if you'd like to keep up with the podcast, you can find us simple enough. Bruce Speak Pod on all your socials. Email me at brutallyspeaking@gmail.com. And very much looking forward to the next couple of episodes over the next couple of days. This has been a really fun, challenging project to do with the guys. And I'm really, again, just thankful that they took the time and saw the opportunity to just kind of do something different. And I'm really appreciative of the opportunity. So thank you to all of the guys in the band. And I will see you all tomorrow with Rick Woods joining me for a fun chat. So I will see you tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your day.